Platformer games are some of the first genres of gaming that I got into when I was a kid. Some games like Mario and Metroid and Castlevania, some classic titles that I will always remember. Even games like Decap Attack, if you remember that one on Sega Genesis. But today I want to share with you a handful of really great mobile games that you can play that are platformers that'll bring you back to that really classic original type gameplay that we all know and love. The first game I want to share with you guys today is called Odmar with 1 million downloads and 4.5 stars. One of my favorite things about this title is the character and the graphics of the game. Very goofy, but also extremely fun. It's worth noting that the beginning of this title is a free demo, but then you do have to pay for it later on in time. Essentially, you're going through the different stages of platformers the way that you do, with puzzles along the way that you need to figure out to make sure that you can be successful in your runs. The combat is really fun. The character Odmar himself is awesome, and it really does lend itself well to the genre of platformers. You really can't go wrong with this one if you're an advocate of platformers overall, or if you're just looking for a good casual game that you can challenge yourself with. Next up, we have Apple Night Action Platformer with 5 million downloads and 4.6 stars. This is a more retro classic style game that really does make itself and earn the name of a solid platformer. Inside of this title, you're gonna have some graphics that are gonna take you back in time to when you really did fall in love with platformer style games, and the gameplay itself is quite fun. The bosses are really big that you encounter, and the stages are very similar to ones that you've seen in the past on systems like Sega Genesis or Nintendo Entertainment System. I quite like this. The combat is fun. The weapons are basic, but also kind of enjoyable at the same time, and the journeys that you're going to find and the secret places that you'll explore are really enticing, and they're going to have you coming back to play more and more every single day. Fireball Wizard with 100,000 downloads and 3.8 stars. Well, you guessed it, in this one you play as a wizard with a bunch of different spells that you can unlock and play along the way. Again, a title with simplistic graphics, but really it lends itself well to the genre. Many players started playing these types of games in the platformer genre back when they were kids in the 80s or 90s. And jumping into titles like these again will give you the nostalgia that you had when you were a kid, playing the same or similar type games when you were just being introduced to gaming itself. Sword Dingo has 10 million downloads, 4.6 stars, and a little bit more of a rudimentary style artwork inside of this one. It has a 3D look to it, and the stages do move themselves a little bit, but the gameplay is definitely fun. Now, I'm not sure if you're gonna like this style at all or not based on just the graphics inside of the game, but the gameplay is quite fun, although things are a little bit simple looking in a 3D fashion. The game does everything that you're expecting from a platformer, but definitely does, in my opinion, lack in the graphic department. As far as gameplay goes though, it's quite fun. Coming in now, we have Mr. Autofire with 5 million downloads and 4.5 stars. And when you think about shooting style platformers, well, this is a great example of one, and one that has a ton of different weapons that go ham on the enemies. It's really just a lot of fun because of the different weapons that you can unlock and the amount of bullets flying across the screen. Definitely a casual experience inside of this one, probably the most casual from any game on the list. Now, we can't have a list without Sonic the Hedgehog. When we're talking platformers, Sonic has to be on there. Whether you love it or not, it's definitely one of the top in genre of all time, now available to play on mobile, and this one has 50 million downloads and 4.1 stars, the fastest paced platformer on the list today. Now, seeing Sonic actually brought me back in time and brought me to some of my favorite games of all time. One of those was Golden Axe, a title you've probably never played or heard of. It was back on the Sega Genesis, the 16-bit, and it was an absolutely incredible game where you could play as 3 different classes, ride dragons, and use spells. This game has 1 million downloads and 4.4 stars and is essentially a modification of what we had on the console back in the day. An extremely fun title that I would definitely recommend you play today if you played it in years past or if you've never played it before. Mega Man has always been awesome back in the day and still today. I like playing this title on mobile because I like playing mobile games, and this one has 500,000 downloads, 4.4 stars, and brings you back to the same experiences you had playing Mega Man back in the day on NES. Really a great title that's a ton of fun. Rambo II. I like this one because it's a running style game where you're essentially dodging everything that's coming at you along the way. This one has 5 million downloads, 4.5 stars, and some really nice graphics. I think the game actually looks pretty awesome and has some really fun weapons that you could use as well. Definitely different from other platformers on today's list, but also has its spot and is extremely enjoyable. And as I mentioned, it's different. Sometimes you don't want to play the same type game all the time. Next we have a game called Dadish, where you play as a radish. The game has 1 million downloads, 4.5 stars, and is an extremely simplistic platformer, but that's extremely satisfying and really rewarding to play. You don't need things to be overcomplicated to enjoy them, and here you're playing against a bunch of different foods, and you, a radish, that's a dad, gets to go around and make its way, or your way, through the different stages of the game. Super simplistic, super enjoyable, and a really great casual game. Dead Cells is a premium title with an $8.99 price tag, so definitely not light in the wallet specifically for a mobile game. This one has 1 million downloads and 4.7 stars, which really says something about how good this platformer is. It's a hack and slash action RPG style platformer that really plays well. When I look at games like this, action RPGs but in a platformer style, it's really made for players that either love platformers or that love action RPGs but don't want that amount of depth in a game. This one lends itself very well to those gamers, and I would highly recommend you try it because really it's only $9. Super Meat Boy Forever. I mean, Super Meat Boy's always been awesome. You play as a hunk of meat and you have to get through the different stages of this platform without being squished or cut up or sliced or diced. It has 100,000 downloads with 4.2 stars, and it does have a price tag of 99 cents, which is what you would expect to play for a mobile game, or pay for a mobile game. This one is really fun. The graphics are cartoony and really nice looking in my opinion for something that's so simple. So for those of you who have never gotten to experience this on console or on PC, now's your chance. Play it on mobile. It's enjoyable and it controls well. Jetpack Joy Ride is one of the OG mobile games. It has 100 million downloads and 4.5 stars, and in this platformer you're flying through the skies with your jetpack on your back, going up and down to prevent yourself from running into the obstacles along the way. Have some great weapons that you could use and some enemies that you face that are going to make it a difficult game to complete. Also extremely satisfying, rewarding, and just generally overall fun. Now, every single day I put out videos showing you guys some of the top 10 best games on mobile, on other platforms, free or paid. You can expect that from me. If you enjoyed today's video, consider subscribing so you don't miss out on the titles that I share with you tomorrow.